Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the second Shalika Marathon America's 2016 live Q&A. My name is Renata. I'm here in London, actually, and we're here with really special guests today. They will be taking you through the live Q&A. So we have Anne Buchanan, who you all know is sort of your main focal point for the student comms, and then the Shalika Marathon America's technical director, Adrian, who is there all the way in Houston. And then we have our battery electric specialist, Joe Redfield, who's also join us today to answer all your questions about the battery electric cars. As we always do, we're going to open up with Anne, and she's going to take you through some slides with really important information about the event in Detroit. So she'll take you through some important information about logistics and details you need to know before getting ready to compete. And then we're going to open up for questions. And again, as always, when you submit your questions, remember to include your category, energy type, name, team name, and country that you're from, so that we know exactly who we are talking to. We're just going to give you a few more minutes for you guys to join and tune in. And then we're going to start with our second live Q&A using our Google Hangout. So as I just mentioned, most of you should know, but my name is Renata. I'm here in London, and I'm here today with really special guests. They're going to take you through some really important information today. So Anne Buchanan, who is your student comms focal point and basically the go-to person when it comes to Shalika Marathon for you. And then Adrian, who is the Shalika Marathon America's technical director. And then Joe Redfield, who is our battery electric specialist. I can see a lot of people joining now, so thanks everyone for joining. Welcome. Let me just take you through what we're going to do today. So we're going to open up with Anne. She's going to take you through some slides that will cover logistics and other really important information that you need to know before heading to Detroit. And then we're going to open up for questions. When you submit your questions, as we always do, please include your name, team name, country that you're from, and then if a question is related to your car and your vehicle, please include your category. That means if you're running on prototype or urban concept, and then your energy type. So hydrogen, battery electric, gasoline, diesel, whatever it is, and then we can answer your question as sort of more accurately as we can. Again, more people joining. We are sort of 3 minutes in. 1 more minute and we'll start, because we want to give you as much time as possible for your answers or for your questions, let's say. Again, keep start submitting your questions. You can use the Q&A functionality on your screen. Should be on the sort of right-hand side. When you include your question, just put your name, team name, country that you're from, and then include your category, urban concept or prototype, and then your energy type, so that we can be quite accurate when answering to you. So again, we're 3 minutes in. Now I'm going to hand it over to Anne. She's going to take you through some really important information. So pay attention, make some notes, and keep your questions coming.
Thank you, Renata, and thank you everyone for joining today's second webcast. And I'm just going to open up the presentation and walk everybody through it real quickly. So we are going to cover some registration, logistics, and partner program details. And then we're going to turn it over to Adrian and Joe, who will help answer all of your technical questions today. So here are just some important dates we would ask for you to make note of. As you all know, Phase 2 is now available to the eligible teams, and that's when we start collecting the technical schematics. And the deadline for Phase 2 is January 25th. Shortly after that, on January 28th, Phase 3 and 4 become available to the teams. The deadline for Phase 3 is March 14th, and that's where we will collect some logistics information, which we will cover in more detail on a later slide. March 25th is the dropout deadline. This one is pretty important. So if your plans have changed and you can no longer attend the competition in Detroit, you must let us know by March 25th so that we can plan accordingly. If you do not inform us of your changes, then you will not be eligible to participate in the 2017 event. And the next deadline is April 11th, and that's when the off-track awards are due. And then, of course, the event in Detroit will take place April 20th through the 24th. Phase 2 registration is pretty straightforward. We just ask for some details about your project, and you can register up to 8 team members. Just be aware that you can actually add up to 20 team members in Phase 3 if you need to do that, and you can edit them in Phase 3 as well, so that information is not final. And we ask for an overview of your vehicle, and then of course the most important piece of Phase 2 would be the technical schematics, and those are the energy supply and transmission system schematics. And of course you can email us at any time at the Eco Marathon Americas at Shell.com website if you have any questions throughout the registration process. Phase 3 is where we start collecting the logistics information. Again, that will become available on January 28th. And each team, as I mentioned, can register up to 20 team members. And we also will be collecting signed personal waivers from every individual. And it's important to note that the minors must have their waivers signed by a parent or guardian and notarized. In addition, each team will need to upload photocopies of the driver's licenses for all drivers and reserve drivers. And just be aware that driver permits will not be accepted. They must be actual valid driver's licenses. We'll also have a section for shipping details, so we will have some shipping information provided in the registration website, which we'll actually cover in a couple of slides as well, but we just need you to let us know how you're getting your vehicle to and from Detroit. We'll also be collecting information for the travel stipends. As most of you know, you will be receiving a check from Shell when you arrive on site at registration, and this is to help cover some of your travel expenses to the event. So you just need to let us know who to make that check out to, and it must be made out to an entity and not an individual. We will also cover lodging, and just like last year, we will offer free camping inside of the Cobo Center. We will provide showers and padding for the teams, but encourage everyone to bring their own sleeping bags and tents and your camping needs. And if you don't want to stay in the campsite, we will have a group rate at the Crown Plaza Hotel, which is directly across from the convention center, and that is $169 a night. We'll have a link to that group rate site in the registration website where you'll be able to make your reservations as well. And then finally, we are limiting the number of vehicles that will be allowed to park at Cobo next year, just due to lack of space. So you can let us know how many vehicles you plan to bring, and just take note that 3 vehicles per team will be allowed. In the last section in the registration site is the off-track awards. You can see which awards we have this year. It's very similar to last year, except we have the vehicle design awards for prototype and urban concept. And we also have communication, safety, perseverance and spirit of the event, and technical innovation. And there's some pretty generous prize money, so be sure to submit your applications by April 11th. And you can find very detailed information about all of those awards in the Chapter 1 Rules and Regulations. Now we just have a couple of logistics items to cover. We have this information posted on the For Participants website. We have group rates for a couple of airlines, so be sure to check out the Delta and United codes when you're comparing all of your flights to and from Detroit. Again, all this information is posted on the For Participants section of the website, where you can plug this information in and see if you can get a better rate on your flight. And then here's the shipping information that we mentioned. We're once again partnering with Freeman, the shipping provider of the convention center. Again, this is posted on the website as well, but if you are in the United States, you can contact Stephanie Tatro for your quote, and she can help coordinate your shipment to and from the convention center. And international teams can email or call the contact information listed below as well. It's really important to note that the orders must be ready to ship no later than Friday, April 1st. And as always, we are unable to assist teams with shipping issues when they do not ship through Freeman. So just take note of that. Freeman really helps with all the customs paperwork and EPA paperwork, which can be extremely complex. We've had several teams have their vehicles get stuck in customs before and not be able to make it to the competition. So that's really why we recommend that the teams work through Freeman, because they can help navigate through all of the legalities there. And the last couple slides before I turn it over to Adrian, we're going to cover the partner programs. So like last year, we're going to have field trips available to the teams prior to the competition. So those will be with the following partners: Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, Ford Motor Company, Hitachi, the Henry Ford, and Rock Ventures. So if you're interested in participating in these tours, just make sure to arrive in Detroit as early as April 19th or 20th. And we will be asking people to register for the field trips by February 1st. We'll be sure to post that information to the website as the details are sorted out. And a new opportunity that we are offering this year is the Career Day, and that's hosted by SAE International. So if you're interested in learning more about careers in the automotive industry, we would definitely encourage you to attend this session, where they'll cover resume writing and critique sessions, information sessions with reps from partners and Tier 1 suppliers, career advice, and internship opportunities at the companies listed here. So we will be offering lunch, and again, we'll be asking teams to register February 1st. So stay tuned for more details there, but we just wanted to get that on your radar. And now I'm going to turn it over to Adrian and open it up to questions.
Hello, and I hope everybody's doing well today. I guess before we get into the technical questions, are there any questions for Ann regarding logistics? This will be an opportunity to get those in right now.
Yep, so let's again just open up the floor for you guys to submit your questions. And as Adrian said, this is the right time for you to share any questions you might have with us. Might be technical, might be logistical. Just sort of again for you guys, when you submit your questions, as some of you have already done, just please include your name, team name, country that you're from, and then your category, prototype, urban concept, and your energy type. That means if you're running on battery electric, gasoline, diesel, whatever it is, so that we can answer you accurately. And now, our first question is actually from a different country that we never had before in our Q&A, so that's quite exciting. So this question is from Jefferson Chamba from Universidad del Azuay from Ecuador, which is quite exciting. Welcome to the call. The question is, the deadman switch can disconnect the ground of the electric motor, or is it mandatory to isolate all the system from the battery ground?
Joe, you want to take that one?
Well, the Thank you. It's a great question. As I understand it, the question is about the emergency safety switch, and that is required to isolate the positive side of the battery from the vehicle.
Correct. So now let's get another question from Texas, actually. So Adrian, maybe you can take this one. So the team from R. Hargrave, I think, Eco Initiative from Houston, Texas. Is there a limit on volt regulators, and they're running on a prototype, or maybe Joe?
Joe,
could you ask the question again? I'm not quite sure I understood the question.
So he's asking if there is a limit on volt. So the volt, I guess they're running on a battery electric
Right.
regulation of volts. That's the question.
Yes. Got it. So yes, there is a limit, and it is specified in the rules in Chapter 2 rules, is that there shall be no place in the vehicle where the battery voltage is higher than 60 volts. Now what that means is, if you're going to run a battery electric vehicle, you want to design your system around a 48 volt battery maximum. That gives the opportunity for the battery to charge and be a little bit higher than 48 volts.
Thanks, Joe. Let's get a...
And just for clarity, that's actually Chapter 1 rules. All the rules are in Chapter 1.
Sorry.
It's all right. Go ahead, Renata.
Thank you. So again, let's get a question here from Justin Amonte. And so this is from Lab here at Tech in Arica, Michigan. 2 questions. First question, where can we get the E100, I guess ethanol 100, for our ethanol prototype vehicle? And second question, on our diesel vehicle, can the fuel return line be returned to the can, or must it be returned to the fuel feed line?
First question about the ethanol. You can get ethanol at most of your racing fuel suppliers. They usually come in 5-gallon drums. What you need to be careful with is what they call E100. It can be anywhere from E85 on up. So you need to make sure that they tell you that you really want some E95 or up, but you have to ask them what that is, and so be careful there. So the fuel that will be at the event will be E95 or at least E99. So just make sure you ask the right questions when you're looking. Like I said, you can get this fuel at your pro racing suppliers, and you can look them up online, or so it's easy enough to do. The second question, what was the second question again, Renata?
So on our diesel vehicle, can the fuel return line be returned to the can, or must it be returned to the fuel feed line?
The best way on a diesel is to return it to the feed line.
Thanks, Adrian. And now a question that I think will be more for Joe. So question is from MDT from Alabama, and Chantal is asking the question, can you elaborate on the requirements involving the motor controller for battery electric category?
Well, as defined in the Chapter 1 rules,
Thank you, Joe.
that teams are required to purpose-build their motor controller for the battery electric class of vehicles. Now, what a purpose-built motor controller means is that the teams are required to come up with a design, build the device, program it if it takes software, and then actually test it out on their vehicle. Teams can use components. Teams can use pre-existing modules, like you don't have to go out and build a CPU or anything along those lines. But we want the teams to understand what it takes to drive their electric motor. We want the teams to understand what it takes and the different strategies around control, and we want the teams to then be able to implement it themselves. So a couple of items, these are a couple of tips here. You can go online and virtually any of the motor manufacturers or motor controller manufacturers will offer what they call motor controller kits. And these are kits that are available for, say, a manufacturer to try out a particular motor controller. These kits are virtually motor controllers in and of themselves. Kits are not allowed for the Shell Eco Marathon to count as motor controllers, purpose-built motor controllers for the battery electric class. So you can find these, but you cannot use those. There are individual components that these manufacturers have, these motor controller manufacturers. You can have a driver bridge that will actually drive the motor itself. You can have controllers, CPUs, processors where you write your own software. You can use all the individual components, but you need to assemble it and put it together yourself. Some teams that I've seen have gone to the level of building their own boards. And if they build their own boards, if any team is going to be doing that, we ask that you put the letters SEM on the board etching, such that we can confirm that yes, indeed, it is a purpose-built board. And I believe I've recreated most of the rules in Chapter 1. If there's any other more specific questions, you can send them in the chat box, and we'll get to them a little bit later on.
Thanks, Joe. And actually, just to remind everybody, of course, there are two specific tech teams about motor controllers in the battery electric management system, if I'm not mistaken. So you should tune in on the YouTube playlist that we have with the 11 tech tips, and you can see two really nicely done videos. It's quite easy to understand. I'm not an engineer, and I understand, so I'm pretty sure you could all do. Let's get another question now. Another one from Texas. So howdy, and howdy to you too, Dominic, from San Antonio, Texas, and they're running on a prototype hydrogen. And they are just wondering if it's possible to buy the hydrogen fuel cylinders that we use in Shell Eco Marathon. This way they can use the same auto as supplied for the test. Adrian?
Okay, the cylinders that are for the Shell Eco Marathon are specifically for us. That was put together for us, so you cannot buy the cylinders. However, you can buy close proximities to that. Most of your cylinder suppliers do not sell individual cylinders. They usually sell in bulk, and when I mean by bulk, you're talking 50 or more. So I would try to connect with some local gas suppliers and see what they can do to help you out. The dimensions are in the rules. You can take those dimensions with you and see if they have something in close proximity so you can practice with. We do use an aluminum cylinder. It is of the medical branch type that we use, so hopefully that can help you out. But other than that, this is something you've got to work on yourself.
Thanks, Adrian. And now let's go all the way to the West Coast. So Team Husky Garage, I guess, from Los Angeles. And their question is, how many laps are there in the course? And what's the total time that they have to complete the competition?
The lap has changed from last year. Instead of being 0.9 of a mile, it's now 0.6. Teams will be required to make 10 laps, and if I do my math right, it's going to be 24 minutes for both prototype and urban concept. The finalized details will be given to the teams before the competition, but 24 minutes and 10 laps that's probably what it's going to be.
Thanks, Adrian. Let's get another question now. This one more for Anne, actually. So let me just shift things a little. And Okay, where is it? Okay, let me just get another one first because the question just went missing for some reason. But the question from Brazil this time. So from Ícaro, from Ecoveículo, from Brazil, may we use a different fuel cap if that's available? Adrian?
Yes, you are allowed to use a different fuel cap on them. As a matter of fact, some teams have become very creative and actually designed one on a 3D printer, made it bigger so they can drill and tap and adjust fitting. So I have no problem with that. What you have to be cautious on is that you got to make sure it seals correctly and that it's easy to get on and off. But yes, that's permittable.
Thanks, Adrian. And now the question for Anne. So again, another Brazilian team, Tulio from Feng Eco Racing. The question is, if there's anything like press credentials for the students, the university is planning on bringing some students from the social communications faculty, but they don't want to replace any engineering team members. So, Anne?
Sure. I believe we can put you in touch with our media group, and they can help set you guys up with media passes. So if you just want to send me an email, we can put you in touch with the right people and get them the credentials that they need.
Thank you. Let's get another question. We see Francis actually was asking the same thing about the hydrogen tank. I think Adrian just answered that for you. So let's get a question now from Keith. So the question is from Keith, again from Houston. And the question is, if we have a brushed DC motor, are we able to substitute a motor controller with a volt regulator? Joe?
Joe, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
you can hear me now. Okay, good. So, if you have a brushed DC motor, there are several ways that you can control that brushed DC motor, and controlling the voltage is one of them. And what you do in terms of method for controlling that voltage is completely up to you. So you can use a voltage regulator. You can design your own voltage regulator. Another way to control the DC motor is control it via current, but it's up to the team to choose what they want. So that's a long answer to a short question. The short answer is yes.
Joe, let me do a follow-up that because I know I've received some questions, and this may help the other teams. If they want to use a motor controller, can they use one off the shelf if they have a DC brush motor?
No.
Well, that answers that one.
That was an easy, answer. Let's get another question now. Again from Brazil. So thank you, all my counterparts being quite active today. But the question is it possible to buy the Michelin prototype tires during the competition? I guess they're having some difficulties in terms of importing those tires with their university.
Hi, sure, I can address that, and you definitely can buy the tires and fuel tanks at the competition. So we'll be selling them at the registration desk, and we only accept credit cards. So be sure to bring a major credit card, and we can take care of that on site.
Thanks, Anne. Let me get another question from the LA team. Not sure, it seems to me like you haven't joined the competition before, so Adrian, maybe you can advise them on this. So Team Husky again from Los Angeles, and they're running on a prototype gasoline vehicle. Are there specific materials that we cannot use for the body or shell of the vehicle?
Well, yes and no, but it depends on how you design the vehicle. What we're looking for, especially in prototypes, is I know you're trying to minimize weight. but you've got to make sure that you have a cage for the driver to fit in that will protect that driver in case of a rear or lateral impact. So that's important. If you have a good sturdy cage, then your body, the body that would fit over top, can be very light materials, fiberglass, carbon fiber, or whatever the case may be. Now, if you make a monocoque design, you've got to make sure that you're using very strong materials to be able to do that. But we do give the teams some liberty in here, but they must understand you've got to look at it from a safety aspect first. Can you protect the driver in your design?
Very good point, Adrian. Now let's get another question. And I just want to send a reminder to all the teams. So we have about 15 minutes more of the Q&A. So if you do have your questions, make sure to submit them now. And as we've always done, name, team name, country that you're from, and then include your category and energy type. So prototype or urban concept, and then your energy type, gasoline, diesel, battery electric, and then our specialist will be able to address your question. So let me get another question now, and I'm not going to select Brazil just because I'm Brazilian. So let me get another one. Again, about the BMS, well, so I'm assuming they're running on battery electric. So I think some Sungbin, but they didn't include their name. So again, next time, please include your name for me. For the BMS datasheet, do we have to bring the actual datasheet paper if we purchase a battery with the BMS from a supplier? Some suppliers don't provide the actual specification on paper, but they do have the information on the website. Joe?
So the requirements are that you need to bring technical documentation in to technical inspection. It has to be printed manufacturer documentation that lists and defines and shows how your BMS meets its requirements and meets its specification. Viewing technical documentation online or on a computer screen will not be allowed.
Thanks, Joe. And actually, there is a tech tip about the documents that you need to show on site as well. So make sure to watch that tech tip and you'll get that answer there as well. So now let's just follow up on a question from Jefferson, actually from the beginning. So Jefferson actually just wanted to follow up, and he says, I do understand that the emergency button disconnect the, look, let me read this again. Thanks for the answer. I do understand the emergency button disconnects the positive, but I'm referring to the deadman switch, the one that the pilot have to press all the time when driving. Do we have to disconnect the positive too in the case the pilot faints? I'm not sure if that was easy to understand.
I understand that you want to take that, Adrian, or you want me to do it?
Well, now that you started talking, you can have it, Joe.
Well, okay, I'll take it that case. So the dead man switch, the requirement for the dead man switch is to stop or interrupt the propulsion system. So the dead man switch does not need to isolate the battery electrical system, but it does need to remove power from the motor or to keep the motor from operating. You can think of it, if a driver faints or otherwise becomes incapacitated, we want the vehicle to stop. We don't want the vehicle to continue on with positive acceleration.
And let me just add on top of that just so we understand terms, the engine can remain running. What we want to stop is propulsion. So you can bring it to an idle, but the vehicle must come to a stop when the driver lets go. So you don't have to kill the engine. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Right, that's for the ICEs. For the battery electrics, you want to remove the ability for the motor to propel the vehicle.
Thanks both. And now it's a really important question actually. from Yuri from Brazil, from Ecoveículo. And the question is, what can happen if we send insufficient information, meaning schematics or not enough information about the project design during the phase 2 registration? Do we have advice saying when the information is not enough? Adrian?
In the rules, if you look at the rules section for technical documentation, we're asking for specific information to be in that documentation. Okay, that's what we're looking for. We're not asking for every bit of wiring, but there's some specific information. Now, if it's not in there, that may not necessarily disqualify you. However, when you come to the event and you're going through inspection, it could create a lot of delays or make it very difficult for you to pass. So I guess my question would be to the team is, if you don't understand exactly what you're looking for based on what you understand reading the rules, please ask your questions by using the Eco Marathon website and get those questions to us. We'll help clarify it. But what we are looking for is we want to be able to see at least your battery voltage. What is your battery voltage? Your kill switches, your fuses. We want to be able to see all that's in there, that you have done the job what we've asked you to do. If we can't make it or whatever, it could disqualify you at the event. So you don't want to travel all the way over there and then not even pass inspection. So try to get that information clarified by asking the questions, because Joe and I can help you through that very quick.
And Adrian, if I could elaborate just for a quick moment, and this is a follow-up to an earlier question about battery management system. We will be inspecting and looking at the technical documentation during tech inspection. And if you don't have complete technical documentation, you will not pass technical inspection. One of the areas for battery electric, specifically battery management systems, specifically teams that choose to buy a battery with a built-in battery management system, there must be specific documentation describing the over-temperature protection on that battery. If that is not there, then the teams will either have to manufacture something and install it, or get the documentation, or they won't be allowed to participate. So it is very important that the teams, you're clear on what documentation you need and what documentation you have. And if you have any questions, please send them in and we'll be happy to take a look at it, because we want you to get in and out of tech inspection as soon as you can so you can get on the track.
Thanks both. Let's get another question here now. Let me see. Actually, this question is from Raphael, Raphael, I think he's Canadian, from Montreal, Concordia University. Will we be required to organize a social event in the university? If so, when? Anybody?
Ask that question again.
Are they required to organize a social event in the university?
Ah, okay.
So that's, I think, a question. Shell Canada does a couple of promotions for the Canadian teams, and Darlene runs those events, but I can definitely send you the details of those promotions, and one of them is, yes, you are correct, to organize an educational event on your campus, and there are some great prizes, but it is completely optional, so no, you are not required to participate.
Yeah, and there's something else, Rafael, I'm pretty sure you're aware of right now, is the mini challenges that are running on Canada or in Canada. So if you are willing to take part in the Shalika Marathon mini challenges for Canada, what you have to do is put a lot of effort into promoting your social media channels, so the social media channels of your competing team. And the goal of it is for you to promote your team and Shalika Marathon. Again, as Anne said, they are optional, so you're not required to do that. What you're required to do is to complete your phase 2 registration in time and make sure you follow the deadline and include all the information that Adrian's asking. But all these other things are optional. They're simply a way for you to promote Shalika Marathon and to promote your team. So I hope that answers your question. Let me just select another question right now. Again, it's always like this. Towards the end, we get a lot of different questions. So let's get a question now from another Rafael, but this time from Brazil, from Team MacMac, from São Paulo, I guess. So can we use, I guess, anti-puncture sealant in our tires or on our tires?
Yeah, they can. That's up to them. It's up to them. They're the ones that have to change the tires, not us. Yeah, but that's fine.
Okay, now let's choose a different question. Okay, now the question from Arthur, again from Brazil. A lot of them coming, so thanks everyone. Should the energy supplement description contain specific information for each component, or warnings for components and their mechanical operation as a whole?
Joe, you want to grab that one?
Yeah, in general, when we're looking, again, for the documentation to describe the major components, you don't have to provide an awful lot of detail about any particular component or system that you've purchased. You do want to have the basic description of what it is and what part number it is and such. The main thing we're looking for is some level of detail to include if there's things that you are building or manufacturing, you know, any type of transmission system or anything of that nature. But in general, no, you don't have to. If you're buying a major component and it's a readily available component, you don't have to provide a lot of detailed information on that. Just what it is, how it fits into your vehicle.
Joe, I want to add something to that. For all the teams that are on this webcast, a good reference is to go to Article 58 under technical documentation and really read that over, because we have done what I would call a fairly robust description of what we want. Like, for instance, under the IC engine, you know, under the energy supply, it tells you what we're looking for. Engine pressure regulator, cylinder, solenoid valve, and we do the same thing under the propulsion. If you look at that very carefully, it really tells you what we're looking for specifically, and so please read that over. Because it's very detailed, and what we're not asking for a full bumper-to-bumper wiring diagram or engine. It's very specific. So remember, it starts at Article 58, and really read that over. And you concentrate in the energy category that you're in. It'll list what we want to see.
Adrian, I do want to add one particular thing. In terms of your vehicles, we are looking for a bumper-to-bumper electrical wiring diagram. You don't need to provide lots of other information, but you do need to have a full vehicle schematic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Thank you both. And Jefferson, I guess that also answers your follow-up question, so hope you got that. Let's get another question now from San Antonio College, again running on prototype hydrogen. Our fuel cell requires a startup battery only to initially power the system. Does this battery need to be on board?
No, it cannot be on board. It has to be external, and the car can be pushed to the start line, and then the two team members can plug the battery in. It has to be plugged externally. The driver can then engage the fuel cell. Then they have to unplug the battery, remove it, and step out of the way so they can start the car. It cannot be on board. The only thing that can be on board is the supercapacitor.
Thanks, Adrian. And just a reminder to all the teams, we have about 10 minutes now. So again, if you do have your question, please submit them all, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So a question now from Ricardo, again from Team MacMac from Brazil. Can we use a split mirror while maintaining the same area of the rules? I'm not sure.
Can they
Adrian, do you-
clarify? Can they clarify what they mean by split mirror? I'm not following them on that. I mean, are they trying to expand it, or I mean, the mirror dimension is a minimum. The mirrors can be as large as they want, but there is a minimum requirement for the mirrors.
Thanks, Adrian. So let's get another question now, and again, another question from Brazil. Now, let me try another country. But they're the only ones submitting questions now. So, okay, let's go with Eric Rodriguez from, well, no, actually, this is Paulo from Linux Academy in California. Can we use sealed gel cell batteries, or are we required to have lithium batteries only? Of course, they're running on a battery electric car.
If for the battery electric class of vehicle, you are required to have lithium-ion chemistry batteries as the only propulsion battery.
Thanks, Joe. So let's try and get another question now. So Lucas from Brazil, they're running on a prototype ethanol, and their question is, the energy diagram must be done using a specific computer software or technical drawing software? If so, is there any specific ones that they need to be using?
We don't mind hand drawings if they're legible and can be discernible. We don't mind those, but I mean the teams have to, there's all kinds of programs, CAD programs out there that teams can use. So we don't recommend one specifically, no.
Nor do we require one.
Yeah, I mean they can do a hand drawn one too, as long as it identifies and gives us the information.
Thank you both. Now a really important question from Brazil, and this is considering, of course, they are accepted on phase 2. And the question is from Tulio from Fame Echo Racing, and the question is, where should we send the prototype? So the question is, what address or which address should the prototype be sent to? After which date may the box be received, in case it arrived before the team? So this is more about freight forwarding and shipping.
Sure. And we do have a document with that information, so I'm just pulling it up, and I can definitely send the address to the teams too, but there is a warehouse shipping address, and I can work with Renata to get this posted on the website if it's not already there. But I have that address, and the date for it, because there's 2 different dates that the teams need to be aware of. You can ship your vehicle a little bit early, and they will hold it in the warehouse for you, but there are additional fees associated with that, so it's best to have it sent to the show site if possible. And sorry, I'm just trying. Vehicles, they will start accepting them April 20th at 4 p.m., so that's the Wednesday. And again, we will post the warehouse shipping address on the Facebook page and on the website as well, so that you all know where to ship that. But Freeman will accept crated, boxed, or skidded materials beginning Monday, March 21st at 8 a.m. at the warehouse address, and then after April 11th, they will be charged an additional after deadline fee. So you can email me directly, and I will be happy to send you this quick fat guide, which will have everything that you need to know.
Thanks, Anne. And I do think this information is on the website, so just have a look at the for America's participants page on the website, because I'm pretty sure that information is already there. Now, we have time for 2 more questions and 2 more questions only, so thanks everyone who submitted their questions. Now, one question from Canada. So, the question is from Mohawk College, Mohawk, Canada. In our battery electric vehicle, we have H-bridge inside of the IC. Due to the small motor, we used an internal H-bridge. Is it okay to use it like this for SCM?
I would suggest that the team send their documentation on their system to the Shell Eco Marathon website so we can look at it in closer detail. So there's not enough information provided for me to say yes or no at this point.
No problem. So I'm sure the team has the Eco Marathon America's address and is the one that manages that account, so she can happily share that with our technical specialists. If not, just share your question on the Facebook group and we'll be able to address it there. Again, just some questions follow up on the mirror question, actually, Adrian. So the question is, can we use convex mirrors for rear view on the vehicle?
No, and it's because of the distortion. They need to be regular mirrors so they can clearly see.
Thank you. That was also easy. And again, I'm not sure if I followed this question from Lucas, but the question is, can we come back to the track after a complete tentative?
Let me see if I can read between the lines there. If I understand the question, can you, if you get a run in, can you come back to the track? The answer is yes, but bear in mind that teams are going to be limited on the number of attempts they're permitted during the competition. That number has yet to be determined. I believe last year it was 5 or 6 attempts. I just have to see. There's a lot of variables in it because we want to make sure that all the teams get a chance to get out on the track. But yes, you will have more than one attempt, and if you feel you're ready to go and you want to jump in, you just get back in the queue, and you can certainly run again.
Thanks, Adrian. And now our last question today, because we don't really have more time. So Victoria from Shop Girls. Hello, girls. So of course they read it in Chapter 1 rules about the World Championship in London. So can anybody say a little bit more about that? Or will they know a little bit more in Detroit? Adrian?
Yeah, I can say a little bit about it, and there will be more information to Detroit, but for the first time in Shell Eco Marathon history, we are going to have a World Cup competition. It will be in London this year in July. However, it is limited to urban concept vehicles only. And let me make sure I make that clear. It's urban concept vehicles only. The top teams from Europe, Asia, and the Americas will be selected, and then they will be, of course, be invited to come to the World Cup competition. So this is a very exciting year. It'll be a very exciting for the teams. However, you have to get valid runs. You have to be in the lead in your category. There's a lot of factors, but we are encouraging the urban concept teams that when you get your car, you've got to think in mind, is it possible that we could end up in London? So you need to think that way. And obviously you can send more questions to the Eco Marathon website. We can give you a little bit more details. But Renata, do you know if they posted anything on the web page at all about it?
I actually know. So we just need to wait for a few details to be finalized, but you should be receiving all the information about the World Cup, and this is sort of all the teams around the world. We will be communicating to all of them in about 3 weeks. So by mid-Feb, yeah, before the event in Asia, all the teams will be aware. So we'll treat the World Cup as we do with all the other Shalika Marathon events. So there will be specific documentation, so a different chapter with specific rules. You'll have guidelines, sort of how-tos, a lot of tips for you to join that event. So as Adrian said, it's quite exciting, and I hope everybody likes what the technical team is putting a lot of effort to bring to you in 2016. Now, we don't really have time for more questions, so I'm just going to open up the floor now for you guys to give the team some final recommendations, final tips. We all need to bear in mind that phase 2 deadline is approaching. So, Anne, do you have any final remarks for the teams? And we cannot hear you, so let me just see if
Sorry,
you
I was on mute.
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead.
Yes, as you mentioned, just everyone please be aware of those deadlines. So phase 2, January 25th, and phase 3, March 14th. March 25th is the dropout deadline, and April 11th is the off-track award deadlines. So everyone please take note of those. And of course, you know how to contact me if you guys have any questions or need any help as we get ready for Detroit. And thank you all.
Thank you. Joe, any final notes for the teams?
Yes, just a quick item, and I would encourage all the teams, even if they're teams that have competed before, read the rules again, read the rules a second time, and then read the rules a third time. And if you still have questions, send the questions to Ian, because we want to get all those answered before you show up on the track. So the tip is read the rules.
Thanks, Joe. Now, last but not least, Adrian, to celebrate your birthday week in really big style. So, any final tips for the teams?
Yeah, I'm going to say something new. Read the rules. But Joe's absolutely right. Really read those rules, and bear in mind, teams, just you may think you have a lot of time between now and April. It will creep up on you pretty quick. You can keep sending questions in even up to the day you ship the car, so do not hesitate to fire those questions to us that we can assist you in being prepared for this event. And I think on behalf of all of us, I thank you for Renata for doing this. We are looking forward to this year and seeing you there.
Thank you. Thanks, Adrian. And thanks, everyone who joined us today. My final remarks would be, one, as everybody said, read the rules, but you can also watch the videos, the tech tip videos. We have a dedicated section to the tech tips now on shell.com. So if you go to the new website, you'll see a dedicated area with the tech tips. That section now, for participants, you can download all your mandatory documents, so the rules, the guidelines, information about shipping, logistics, it's all there. Of course, as Anne mentioned, you can also ask us anything or share any information on the Facebook group, and it's a great way for you to do that, because when you share one of your questions, you might be helping another team with the answers, so you can help each other before you get to the event. Don't forget to share your progress in social. I'm following you every single day, so whatever you do, just make sure you share with the hashtag SM2016. I guess that's it for us today. We will keep doing this, so if you do have any further questions, you can share them on Twitter, on Facebook. We're here to help, and we'll see you in Detroit. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.